She's an enchantress, destiny's tree. Fear and doubt, she sets them free. Inner light guides the way, every night and every day.
Hello, welcome back to another mini masterclass. So if you're new here, my name is Celia, and I give these mini masterclasses around topics that I journal, where my guides are taking me what they want me to discover, and I share those discoveries with you as best way as I can. So in this video, I am going to pop in some images to kind of give you a visual as well to help you understand how to put all of this together in a practical sense. So, what my guides shared with me the other night when I woke up, the voice said, God is will. And I know in the Bible it says God's will, but it wasn't God's will, it's God is will. And so, whatever you prescribe to, whether it's God's source, energy, your higher self, but it is through our will that we push things into existence, that we, through action and focus, it's how, and discipline and perseverance is how we manifest things into the physical. So this video is covering ways that you can quantum leap your manifestation and to really understand how you're participating in your manifestation coming from a metaphysical outlook, and also astrology. So the way that I use astrology is more of like a self-development tool and for like psychology more than horoscopes and transits. So it's a way to show you how you can utilize your natal chart in order to help you for self-discovery and also for self-growth, because it's the wheel of life. And we have the seasons in the life, we have different characteristics, we have different areas in our house. So that's how I look at astrology. So if you want, you can pause this video right now and you can get a copy of your chart over at, I think, astroseek.com. There's quite a few free websites that can give you a copy of your natal chart. All you need is your time of birth, where you were born, the date of birth, and it will give you your printout of your natal chart. But I've said before, and I'll say here, it's better if you do whole houses or whole sign, because otherwise your pie shapes could be very drastic, and different zodiac signs slip into different houses and it can get really confusing. So make sure that you do it in whole sign. So with that being said, that was the download I got when I woke up. God is will. And so it's like, okay, so with our manifestation is what my guides were telling me. It's through our focus. It is through our will, our perseverance, and this inner knowing that we have. And so last night I was dreaming. I can't recall my dreams, but in the morning when I woke up, the voice said, keep your eye on the galaxy. Now that could be literal, like keep my eye in the sky, because we all know that there's some crazy stuff going on. But they've really been guiding me to really study more of the metaphysics of the process and of manifesting, as well as to understand why we're here. And science and spirituality go hand in hand, which creates the metaphysics. It's like how we apply science into our life. And so that's why I believe that I'm being guided to the metaphysical aspect of it, as well as they led me on the path to astrology and tarot. And I use tarot more as a mindset tool to help you to for observation of what's going on in your life. So you might notice that in my readings that I get these downloads, and it's more as guidance, so you can become more self-aware of what's going on in your surroundings. But with that being said, I know that it gets confusing, and what I want to say to you right now is if nobody has told you that you are doing a great job and um, that everything is happening in divine timing for you, and just give yourself grace in the process, I'm telling that I want to share that with you. I want to give you that because this journey can seem like it's forever going, especially when we start on our spiritual awakening path and we don't have anybody to talk to about it, and we feel so misunderstood. And because you see things from a different perspective, it's like you feel like it feels lonely because you don't have anybody to talk to that really understands what you're going through. And that's why I'm happy that you're here, so we can have this conversation, and maybe just from what I'm receiving, I can give you a different perspective, and maybe a little bit of understanding of how it all works together. I by all means don't know everything. I'm taking bits and pieces because I'm on this journey with you. But the first step was astrology, that they really wanted me. And I have been on this path with following the stars. So Goddess Ishtar came to me as the morning star in a dream. And she was floating over my womb, and she kept repeating, "Remember who you are, remember who you are." And then I had another dream where I was in an office. In every room that I went to, there were posters, and the posters said Stella. And I kept hearing Stella, 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 Stella. So I was like, which Stella means star. And I was just like, what is this with stars? And so that's what guided me to astrology. But through my further investigation, what I'm realizing is that we are actually stars. We are the stars. So when you are looking up into the galaxy, like where my guide said, keep your eye on the galaxy. When you are looking up into the sky and you are looking at stars, you are looking into the past. Okay. So everything that you are wanting to manifest has already happened. Okay. It's already there in your vortex, connected to you through these electromagnetic waves. Through this vortex, there are many particles, and these particles are atoms of potentiality. And I might have the terminology, I might get them mixed up because, like I said, I'm right now, I'm going on this path of metaphysics and I'm learning as I go. But that's the vision that they gave me, is that there is an infinite amount of potentiality, and it is through our will, God's will, that we focus on what it is that we want to pull through. Our collapsed time is a better way to think of it because it's all happening at once. So you collapse time and then you experience that is through your will, through your focus. But there's a fine line of burnout. Okay, so you have to have balance in the process, because if you are like focusing, and now it doesn't feel good in the body, and now you're feeling drained and you're not feeling connected to what that is that you're manifesting, then that creates resistance. And that's why they talk about surrender, because surrender is allowing the universe to collect these particles to form a wave to then turn into a mass so you can see them in your with your physical eyes. So before I start getting into all of the metaphysical part, I really want to cover some things in your astrological chart. And the reason is because it's through the understanding of who you are and the character that you're here to play, and the experiences you are here to have through the characteristics of who you are. It really helps you build your authentic code to understand who you are. So if you're a person that seems to feel lost, and when you feel lost, it's because you really don't know who you are. So you've prescribed to the external world telling you what brings you joy, what brings you happiness, what are the things that you want to experience. Your parents tell you, what their expectations are of you. The school system tells you, media tells you. So you've been in this vortex of external noise telling you who you are. And so I feel like when you can get in touch with your natal chart and understand that there's a blueprint that describes who you are. And that's why when somebody starts talking about zodiac signs, you really relate to it. It makes sense. And it's because you are a star. And I know it sounds crazy, but when I went on this path, they even took me to the science part of the Milky Way. So when my guides this morning said, keep your eye on the galaxy, it is the when you think of a spiral of the galaxy, moving and attracting through a vibration. But not only that, it's when you look at the periodical table, the elements that are inside of the galaxy, the Milky Way, are, we have those elements as well, those minerals. And again, don't don't judge me on my science aspect of it. I'm more of like a spiritual intuitive, and I just receive the information. So don't shoot the messenger. But basically, we're in this vortex, right? And time is cyclical. And so I will put an image up right here to kind of give you the illusion, or not the illusion, the image of what I'm trying to explain here. But we have an infinite amount of potentiality, and it is through our focus that we bring it into the physical so that we can observe it. So we're always attracting potentiality to us from this magnetic wave. Okay, and so that's why when we talk about manifestation and the law of attraction and the law of vibration, that's how they all fit in. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Before I start there, I really want to talk about astrology. So your sun, moon, and rising, I'm going to just cover just this brief point. If you have your chart by now, then you'll be able to see. But I'm not going to cover your whole chart, and I can't get detailed because I don't know your chart. But what I'm about to share with you will help quantum leap your life. And quantum leaping your life is this drastic change because your observation and your perspective has changed. So your sun, moon, and rising, it meets at a point to your parts of fortune. And so if you don't know what the parts of fortune looks like, it's a circle with an X in the middle, like X marks the spot. I like to think of it as, like if you have a map, a treasure map, and there's the X where the treasure is, that's where your parts of fortune is. And the reason why you need to know this is because it aligns everything about you, who you are, your characteristics, what you're here to do, but it shows you how you are supposed to do it. So I'm going to just give my chart as an example. I am an Aquarius rising, a Leo sun, and a Libra moon. And my parts of fortune happens to fall in the third house of Aries. And so Aries characteristic is very entrepreneurial, but it is in the house of communication. So hence why I'm here speaking to you about practical ways of teachings that I have learned, because Gemini is, learning in a practical way. That's why I'm here. Okay. And so I've been following according, and it's not by force. It just has happened naturally because I was unaware of this. It's like your chart, you have many ways of how you're going to show your characteristics through like jobs and careers, but you're not here to do one thing. What you're here to do, your life purpose, is this evolution of yourself. And so your parts of fortune is where you feel the most aligned, where you feel the most joy, where you feel happy. And so, excuse me, I have an itch there. So for me to show up and do these mini master classes of the downloads that I receive, second house Pisces, it brings me joy. It brings me joy to be able to communicate these things to you and to bring it in a practical sense, which I happen to have Gemini North Node in the fifth house of self-expression. But I'm not going to go over that. I just want you to get the basics, how you're going to quantum leap your life is when you understand your sun, moon, and rising is an accumulation of your characteristic. Let me just say it is also all of the other placements in your chart, but like for this purpose of this video, I want to simplify it. And so your sun, moon, and rising, because your rising is the mask that you wear. It's how other people see you. Your sun is what how you're learning to master this part of yourself. And then your moon is your emotional aspect. So, your sun sign is your confidence, your I am, and your rising is, how other people see you. Just because other people see you and it's a mask doesn't mean it's not you. Okay. So don't get that confused that you're putting on a mask and it's to hide your version of you. No, it is you, but it's another aspect of who you are. But when you take the accumulation of all of those and you understand what your authentic code is, and then you find your parts of fortune, you can discover how that area with those characteristics of that zodiac sign. And if you have any other planets with your parts of fortune, it's going to have an effect on the house that they're in this character that you're playing. But it takes the guesswork out, right? So it's like that's how we quantum leap, because we have a better understanding of who we are. So that's the astrological part that I want to go over as I go further. And if I'm looking down, it's because I'm looking at my journal and the notes that I wrote that came through. So going back to keeping your eye on the galaxy. Okay, so when I had the vision that came through with that, as I was waking up this morning, it was a spiral, right? The galaxy is spiraling. Well, it's the Milky Way that is spiraling. And so I was seeing this spiral, and the spiral is the loops of time, okay? But where time is an illusion because everything is in a spiral. And so you might see a lot of symbolism where there's a spiral. And what my guides were showing me is that spiral represents the loops that we're having, right? It's like the manifestation, the vortex that we're in, and we each have our own vortex. So that's where we have to have balance in life, because if you were to think of, I'm going to put this image up right here, where you have like your vortex, and your vortex has infinite amounts of potentiality. And when you remember who you are, it's when you remember your star self. So in this image, there's a star, and then there's a being at the other end. And so you're just observing your reality. You're not taking forward action. You are standing in the position of observing your reality, and it's through the potentiality. So it's how you show up as the character in your life and the actions that you take that create these different movies, so to speak. So in this image, I'm going to show you where the person is standing there, and there's all of these screens surrounding them, and that is the potentiality. There, you split up into different potentialities, and you are manifesting one of those in the moment of focus. So even in my last video, when I was talking about the 2-slit experiment, and it's through your observation that these particles behave in the way that you as the observer expect them to behave. Well, it's the same with your life. So it's like if you feel like you are on this wave, because it shows in that experiment that there's a wave of different outcomes when you are not observing. So when you're not observing, you have different outcomes, and they're all happening at one time. That's why the particles were hitting the back of the board. But when you are observing with intention, which will is intention, God is will is intention. When you are observing with intention, you are focusing on the expectation of how those particles are going to move through and manifest into the physical. So that's why in the last video I was talking about it's so important that we don't get distracted, because once we get distracted from what we want to observe in our reality, then we have all of these different outcomes and we feel scattered. So here you are standing in front of this vortex of potentiality. You're the star. Once you remember who you are, you collapse time, and your manifestation takes a lot less. So the more that you get to know yourself, the more that you become your authentic version, the faster your manifestations happen, because you're at your authentic self, which is a star. You realize that you're a star and you are the universe. You're the whole of the universe. So what happens is when you have trauma, you have limiting beliefs, you're living in the past, you're being triggered, all of those things. What happens is what you're focusing on, the potentiality of it is coming forth through the vortex, moving through you, because the reason why it's moving through you and how it even works is because the space between you and I is plasma, and plasma is consciousness, and consciousness in the plasma is ether. So in the space between you and I, it carries information. So whatever you are speaking into existence is going in the ether. So that's why, it's important to really pay attention to your words, okay? And not saying like you have I guess it's through will, right? It's through will and focus that you can manifest it into the physical. But if you say something and then there is no intention behind it, it just gets lost in the ether. So when you are wanting to manifest something and you're here and you have all of this potentiality and you want it to happen faster, it's to get back to your star self, to remember who you are, where astrology comes in, because it collapses those timelines. If you are still operating from old past selves, then your manifestation has to go through all of those past limiting selves of you, which creates this loop and stuck energy. So let's say um, you're wanting to manifest a car. Okay, we'll just keep it practical. You're wanting to manifest a car, but you don't believe that you can manifest a car. Or maybe you believe that you can manifest a car, but the car that you're wanting to manifest, let's say it's a Range Rover, okay? But you are thinking that you're at a place where you're limiting yourself. So your manifestation is coming in as, something you don't want, right? You don't want that, but it's coming in as that because that is where you are still at in your beliefs of having it. So it's through the healing of it that your manifestation gets clear. And how you know that your manifestation is working is because events will happen and synchronicities will happen to show you a vehicle coming into your life. It might not be the vehicle that you want. It's not the Range Rover, but there's a new car coming in. And so if you accept that, right, you're telling the universe, yes, that's the car that I wanted. Where if it's not because you really wanted this Range Rover, then you're going to say, no, that's not what I want. I want this Range Rover. So it's through the process of removing limiting beliefs that the universe gets clear and your manifestation comes in clear, as well as how it comes in a lot quicker. Now, how your manifestation comes in is through taking action. Okay, so as you're focusing on it, you will get downloads. So, it might be like, oh, create this product, or, leave this job and start this kind of career, or learn how to do this skill, or go here and meet with this person, or it can be an infinite amount of potentiality, right? But it's through the action that you're taking. It doesn't mean that you have to go grind and go get this corporate job and put in your hours and beat yourself up and to save every penny to get it. If you understand that the universe has an infinite amount of potentiality, then it can show up in an infinite amount of ways. But it is through you connecting with it that you take the action and you start focusing on that it starts to manifest in your reality through your observation. And we confuse consciousness when we don't know who we are and we don't know what we really want. And so it brings us an accumulation of the things that you want, because that's where you're asking for. So an example I like to give is, my sister was moving and she didn't know where she wanted to move. And so she said, I don't know if I want to live in Florida. I don't know if I want to live in the mountains. I don't know. Like, I want to live in Florida. I want to live in the mountains. But I want to stay in California. I don't know what I want to do. So what happened was she did manifest that. Okay. So, but she manifested coming from her beliefs and her worth. So she manifested a place that maybe wasn't ideal. Okay. But it was what she believed she could have, but it was near the mountains and near Florida Street. So it was like the universe gave her exactly what she wanted, according to her limiting beliefs, but it came in a way that she didn't want. Okay. But it's because the universe is listening. So if you're like indecisive and you're all over the place, you're going to get manifestations of things that you're like, what is this? I didn't ask for that. So it is through God will, focusing on what you want to pull through, is how you get really clear with this. And it is in the surrender of it. So where my guides are really showing me is balance. I need to have more balance because, for instance, I really want to grow my YouTube channel. So please, if you find this stuff interesting, hit that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up so the algorithm can pick this up and I can share more of this wisdom with others, to have more of a practical way of manifesting and just understanding who we are as consciousness. So I'm focusing on really growing my channel, but to the point where it's like I'm looking at the analytics every day and I am looking to see if I've got new subscribers and if there's some comments there for me, because I'm really excited about it. And so that's how I know that I'm in the right vibration, in the right frequency, because I'm not dreading it and I'm not doing something that I don't enjoy doing. So that's kind of how your energetic body tells you whether you are in alignment or out of alignment. So, but if I constantly strangle it, like I'm just watching it and just like, if I'm like, please, 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 hit that subscribe button, or, begging and pleading, then I'm out of alignment and I'm creating resistance, because it's like, okay, you don't believe that you have value. You don't believe that you're sharing anything of meaning. So why would anybody else believe what you are sharing if you don't believe it? So this is going to segue into your aura and your chakras. So, once you know your sun, moon, and rising, you understand what your authentic code is. You understand in the area of where your parts of fortune is, and you understand that there's an infinite amount of potentiality and that time is cyclical. So we are in a spiral pattern, is how we're bringing our manifestations through. And so you're the star here. Again, I'm going to insert the image, but you're the star here, and there you are at the front of your vortex. You are attracting things to you through your vibration, and how you are attracting things to you from your vibration is through your consciousness. So you think of a star that's sparkling, right? A star is sparkling, and it's like they're attracting to each other through the gases, and they create and gravitational pull, and that's where the Milky Way is happening with this cluster of stars. But when you understand that you are you have your own spiral, okay, so your spiral is your frequency, which is your aura. And your aura has 7 layers. And I know that there's more, but this is what I'm grasping at. And I'm going to share it to you in this practical way so that way I don't confuse you. But your aura, so think of the person standing there with all of this potentiality at like the image. Your aura, it has a frequency, it has a vibration. That's how people can know if you're in a bad mood, or if they, how you know it's not safe with this person, how you know you can't trust them. That's how you read people. Okay. And so each one of those bands or rings are connected to your chakra system, and your chakra has a color. So think of those bands as, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet, or violet, light violet, or white. And so that way, when you have your chakras, if your chakras, because in Sanskrit, chakra means will. And so it's turning. So if your chakras aren't stuck, they're turning. But if your chakras are blocked, then that's where you have some blocks that you aren't able to manifest, right? You're creating the resistance around it. So when you think of, you have these rings around you that are communicating with consciousness to attract what you want. When they say that you have to get into the frequency of it, it is through the harmony within self. So it's like you can't you have to have harmony and balance, right? It's like you can't force it. You can't come from lack and scarcity. You can't come from this lack mindset. You can't come from all of your wounds that aren't healed, because it's your vibration is still carrying that frequency. Okay. So that is your gravitational pull. Your vibration is your it's your magnetism. That is how you're attracting in your manifestation. And so when I was talking about quantum leaping, it's like the minute that you understand just through your sun, moon, and rising and your parts of fortune, it gives you such a different perspective that creates a change, that creates a quantum leap. So now you're starting from knowing who you are better. That's why I always say that it's so important to understand your natal chart from a psychological aspect, because you're the star. Your star is oscillating, but it's oscillating, but doesn't know who it is. But the minute that you understand your star chart, it's like now it's like bing, it's like your star understands who it is. And so that's where your manifestations have shorter time to the spiral. It's like, here's the spiral that's way out there that's taking a long time. But the minute that it's like the spiral gets shorter, shorter, and shorter. So it is through balance and harmony and not burning yourself out and taking care of your body. It's the food you eat. It's what you drink. It's who you surround yourself with. It is if you're, your boundaries. Are you being a doormat? Are you in a relationship that isn't working for you? Are you telling yourself that you're not worthy? And because you feel unworthy, it's like your manifestation is just like surrounding you. It's just on this loop. Like think of like I think of this because when I'm on my computer, I have so many windows open. So just think if you're trying to upload something and then there's that little thing that's going round and round and round and round. Well, that's kind of how it's like it's trying to come in, but it's just spinning, 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 spinning in the same loop. But the minute that you align with it, it's like, sound effects, you pull it through. And that's because change is occurring. So one of the things that, it's like, I've always said this, is that you are the galaxy. You are the universe. The universe resides in you. You are consciousness. You are connected to the all that is. And you are just experiencing life through your observation. So that's why they call it the matrix, or they call it a simulation or a holographic, because you're really standing here looking at all of the potentialities, going back to the image with the person, the figure watching all of these movies play out. Because it's every time you make a decision, you are playing another movie. And then you make another decision, the particles split, and then that potentiality becomes that movie. So they're all playing at one time. And that's why even I talk about forgiveness, because when you hold resentment and anger and towards a situation, you keep yourself stuck in that timeline. So it's like you want to release yourself from that. So with the vast potentiality and then understanding all of this, it just changes your perspective and gives you a quantum leap. And so your manifestations happen faster. So one of the things that they told me is that it's through self-regulation. So self-regulation is the ability to understand and manage your behavior, reaction, and feelings to things and circumstances and what's happening around you. But then there's also self-revelation, and that's the revelation of one's thoughts and feelings and attitude without deliberate intent. Okay. And then there's self-awareness, which is the understanding of your character, your feelings, your motives, and your desires. So all of those create this self-actualization. That's when you are more self-aware and you feel more enlightened. And because of that, it's like it creates this quantum leap where then you have this drastic change. You have a sudden change in perspective about yourself. And then you start to understand that that there is possibilities in everything, and you aren't limited. So another thing is your inner knowing. So your inner knowing is this deep feeling about a path or a choice. Like you just know it. It's like it is your intuition, but your intuition is your natural ability. They're pretty much the same, but it's like your natural ability to know something without proof. And your gut, that's where you have your gut feeling. And it's like this inner knowing, which it requires stepping out of your intellect, right? It's just, you just have a sense of certainty and it's making the decision. And you embrace the power of not knowing. And through embracing the power of not knowing, you allow yourself to um, travel through another experience without this inner dimension of knowing. Okay, I know that sounds confusing, but with that, it's surrendering, and that is how you start following your true north. Now, your natal chart does have your true north on there, but again, we're a free will, so you can make the choice. You're going to always circle back to your true north because it is innately part of who you are. But if you want a quantum leap, it's getting to know who you are in that trust factor, that surrender factor. And so also with God's will, it's the understanding of divine timing. Okay, so when I received the message of God's will, meaning will is through focus and intention that you bring things into the physical, and then you think of God's will is the divinity of timing of it. So don't mistake this for passivity or waiting for an external force to save you, because that's where this is all about. It's like when you are manifesting, you're the magician. You already have everything that you need to bring that manifestation through. It is not through the chase of it. It is through changing your vibration, through doing the inner work, to doing the shadow work, to replacing all of these limiting beliefs so that the loop gets smaller and your manifestations come in quicker. And it's because we are sovereign beings. So we are free from outside control. We are the supreme power, the God, the universe within. So that is all I have for you. If you have any questions about this, like I said, I put some images just to kind of clarify. Please leave your comments down below, and I will see you on the next mastermind every Tuesday.
In the moonlight light she stands tall, no more shadow she will fall. From her fingers sparks ignite, she's the keeper of the night.